Captain Kang Do-yun walked through the massive doors of the Galactic Empire's High Council chamber. His black military uniform was simple compared to the colorful robes worn by the alien representatives around him. The chamber was huge, with seats rising up in circles like an ancient amphitheater. Hundreds of different alien species sat in those seats, all looking down at the single human standing in the center. Do-hyun carried a small device in his hand. When he pressed a button, holographic images appeared in the air above him. The images showed 3 planets, beautiful blue and green worlds that had once been home to billions of humans. Now they were nothing but burning rocks floating in space. The aliens in the chamber looked at the images with cold eyes. Some even seemed bored. To them, destroying human worlds was just another day's work. Chancellor Vex Morlane rose from his throne at the highest point in the chamber. He was tall and thin with gray skin and 4 arms. His species, the Zelani, had ruled the Galactic Empire for over 3,000 years. He looked at Do-hyun like a person might look at an annoying insect. "Human," Morlane said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You stand before the High Council of the Galactic Empire. We have allowed you to speak, though your species has no right to demand anything from us. Say what you came to say, then leave." Do-hyun did not bow. He did not show fear. He stood straight and looked directly at the Chancellor. Around the chamber, aliens whispered to each other. No lesser species had ever shown such disrespect to the High Council. 3 days ago, Do-hyun began, his voice calm and clear, your fleets destroyed the human colonies of New Seoul, Busan Station, and Terra Nova. You killed 3 billion innocent people, men, women, and children who had done nothing wrong except exist in space you decided you wanted? Some aliens in the chamber laughed. Others made clicking or hissing sounds that served as laughter for their species. "Those worlds were in imperial space," said Counselor Jax Warrant, a reptilian alien with bright red scales. "Your species built colonies without permission. We simply removed the illegal settlements." "We had treaties," Do-hyun replied. "Signed, agreements that gave us the right to settle those systems. You broke those treaties when you wanted the rare minerals on our worlds." Chancellor Morlane waved one of his 4 hands dismissively. "Treaties with lesser species can be changed when the Empire requires it. Your kind should be grateful we allowed most of your other colonies to survive. Many species have not been so fortunate." The holographic images changed. Now they showed the faces of the dead. Thousands of human faces appeared in the air. Old people, young people, families, children, all of them killed when the Imperial fleets had opened fire. "These people had names," Do-hyun said. "They had families. They had dreams. You took all of that away because you wanted the platinum deposits under their cities." "The needs of the Empire come before the wants of primitives," Morlane said. "Your species has been spacefaring for less than 200 years. We have ruled the galaxy for millennia. You exist at our pleasure." Do-hyun reached into his uniform pocket and pulled out a small data pad. He held it up so everyone in the chamber could see it. "I carry with me humanity's final message to the Galactic Empire," he said. "You have 72 standard hours to withdraw all Imperial forces from human space. You will pay reparations for the 3 billion lives you have taken. You will return the territories you stole from us and sign new treaties recognizing human sovereignty over our claimed systems." The chamber erupted in laughter. Aliens of dozens of different species made sounds of amusement. Some banged their appendages on their seats. Others made high-pitched noises that hurt human ears. Chancellor Morlane raised his hands for silence. When the chamber was quiet again, he smiled at Do-hyun. It was not a kind smile. "And if we refuse these demands?" Morlane asked. Do-hyun's expression did not change. His voice remained calm and steady. "Then we will reduce your empire to cosmic dust. We will hunt down every Imperial fleet, destroy every Imperial world, and kill every Imperial citizen until nothing remains but asteroids and radiation. We will not stop until your empire is completely and utterly destroyed." The silence that followed was absolute. No alien made a sound. Even the air recycling system seemed to grow quiet. Then the laughter began again. But this time it was louder, more mocking than before. "You?" Morlane gasped between fits of laughter. "You primitives think you can threaten us? Your entire species has perhaps 50 warships. We have 50,000 fleets. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your weapons cannot even scratch our shields. The Terran Coalition Navy has a saying," Do-hyun replied. "It is not the size of the fleet in the fight. It is the size of the fight in the fleet." "Pretty words," said Counselor Warrant. "But words do not win wars. Ships do, weapons do, numbers do, and we have all of those things while you have none." Do-hyun touched a control on his data pad. Immediately, every communication device in the chamber activated. A new voice filled the air. It was deep and commanding, speaking from somewhere far away. "This is Admiral Park Jin-woo of the Terran Coalition Navy. Captain Do-hyun, do you have their answer?" Do-hyun looked around the chamber one last time. He saw the amused faces of hundreds of alien representatives. He saw their complete confidence that humanity could do nothing to threaten their vast empire. "Admiral," Do-hyun said into his data pad, "they have refused our terms." "Understood, Captain. The countdown begins now." 72 hours and counting. Chancellor Morlane leaned forward on his throne. "Captain Do-hyun, you and your Admiral Park may play at being warriors, but you are children with toy soldiers. When your 72 hours are over and nothing happens, we will destroy 10 more of your colonies, then 10 more. We will keep destroying your worlds until your species learns to show proper respect." Do-hyun put his datapad away and turned toward the chamber's exit. As he walked, his footsteps echoed in the huge room. "Chancellor," he said without turning around, "in 72 hours you will understand why humanity does not bluff. We do not make empty threats. When we say we will do something, we do it, no matter the cost, no matter how long it takes, no matter how many of us die in the process." He stopped at the chamber doors and finally turned to face the aliens one last time. "We tried to be peaceful. We tried to be reasonable. We offered you respect and friendship. You responded with genocide. Now you will learn what happens when you push humanity too far." The doors closed behind him with a loud bang that echoed through the chamber like thunder. In the silence that followed, some of the younger alien representatives felt a strange chill. But the older ones, the ones who had ruled the galaxy for centuries, only smiled. What could one primitive species possibly do against the might of the Galactic Empire? They were about to find out. Captain Kang Do-hyun walked through the massive doors of the Galactic Empire's High Council chamber. His black military uniform was simple compared to the colorful robes worn by the alien representatives around him. The chamber was huge, with seats rising up in circles like an ancient amphitheater. Hundreds of different alien species sat in those seats, all looking down at the single human standing in the center. Do-hyun carried a small device in his hand. When he pressed a button, holographic images appeared in the air above him. The images showed 3 planets, beautiful blue and green worlds that had once been home to billions of humans. Now they were nothing but burning rocks floating in space. The aliens in the chamber looked at the images with cold eyes. Some even seemed bored. To them, destroying human worlds was just another day's work. Chancellor Vex Morlane rose from his throne at the highest point in the chamber. He was tall and thin with gray skin and 4 arms. His species, the Zelani, had ruled the Galactic Empire for over 3,000 years. He looked at Do-hyun like a person might look at an annoying insect. "Human," Morlane said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You stand before the High Council of the Galactic Empire. We have allowed you to speak, though your species has no right to demand anything from us. Say what you came to say, then leave." Do-hyun did not bow. He did not show fear. He stood straight and looked directly at the Chancellor. Around the chamber, aliens whispered to each other. No lesser species had ever shown such disrespect to the High Council. 3 days ago, Do-hyun began, his voice calm and clear, your fleets destroyed the human colonies of New Seoul, Busan Station, and Terra Nova. You killed 3 billion innocent people, men, women, and children who had done nothing wrong except exist in space you decided you wanted? Some aliens in the chamber laughed. Others made clicking or hissing sounds that served as laughter for their species. "Those worlds were in imperial space," said Counselor Jax Warrant, a reptilian alien with bright red scales. "Your species built colonies without permission. We simply removed the illegal settlements." "We had treaties," Do-hyun replied. "Signed, agreements that gave us the right to settle those systems. You broke those treaties when you wanted the rare minerals on our worlds." Chancellor Morlane waved one of his 4 hands dismissively. "Treaties with lesser species can be changed when the Empire requires it. Your kind should be grateful we allowed most of your other colonies to survive. Many species have not been so fortunate." The holographic images changed. Now they showed the faces of the dead. Thousands of human faces appeared in the air. Old people, young people, families, children, all of them killed when the Imperial fleets had opened fire. "These people had names," Do-hyun said. "They had families. They had dreams. You took all of that away because you wanted the platinum deposits under their cities." "The needs of the Empire come before the wants of primitives," Morlane said. "Your species has been spacefaring for less than 200 years. We have ruled the galaxy for millennia. You exist at our pleasure." Do-hyun reached into his uniform pocket and pulled out a small data pad. He held it up so everyone in the chamber could see it. "I carry with me humanity's final message to the Galactic Empire," he said. "You have 72 standard hours to withdraw all Imperial forces from human space. You will pay reparations for the 3 billion lives you have taken. You will return the territories you stole from us and sign new treaties recognizing human sovereignty over our claimed systems." The chamber erupted in laughter. Aliens of dozens of different species made sounds of amusement. Some banged their appendages on their seats. Others made high-pitched noises that hurt human ears. Chancellor Morlane raised his hands for silence. When the chamber was quiet again, he smiled at Do-hyun. It was not a kind smile. "And if we refuse these demands?" Morlane asked. Do-hyun's expression did not change. His voice remained calm and steady. "Then we will reduce your empire to cosmic dust. We will hunt down every Imperial fleet, destroy every Imperial world, and kill every Imperial citizen until nothing remains but asteroids and radiation. We will not stop until your empire is completely and utterly destroyed." The silence that followed was absolute. No alien made a sound. Even the air recycling system seemed to grow quiet. Then the laughter began again, but this time it was louder, more mocking than before. "You?" Morlane gasped between fits of laughter. "You primitives think you can threaten us? Your entire species has perhaps 50 warships. We have 50,000 fleets. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your weapons cannot even scratch our shields. The Terran Coalition Navy has a saying," Do-hyun replied. "It is not the size of the fleet in the fight. It is the size of the fight in the fleet." "Pretty words," said Counselor Warrant. "But words do not win wars. Ships do, weapons do, numbers do, and we have all of those things while you have none." Do-hyun touched a control on his data pad. Immediately, every communication device in the chamber activated. A new voice filled the air. It was deep and commanding, speaking from somewhere far away. "This is Admiral Park Jin-woo of the Terran Coalition Navy. Captain Do-hyun, do you have their answer?" Do-hyun looked around the chamber one last time. He saw the amused faces of hundreds of alien representatives. He saw their complete confidence that humanity could do nothing to threaten their vast empire. "Admiral," Do-hyun said into his data pad, "they have refused our terms." "Understood, Captain. The countdown begins now. 72 hours and counting." Chancellor Morlane leaned forward on his throne. "Captain Do-hyun, you and your Admiral Park may play at being warriors, but you are children with toy soldiers. When your 72 hours are over and nothing happens, we will destroy 10 more of your colonies, then 10 more. We will keep destroying your worlds until your species learns to show proper respect." Do-hyun put his datapad away and turned toward the chamber's exit. As he walked, his footsteps echoed in the huge room. "Chancellor," he said without turning around, "in 72 hours you will understand why humanity does not bluff. We do. Not make empty threats. When we say we will do something, we do it, no matter the cost, no matter how long it takes, no matter how many of us die in the process." He stopped at the chamber doors and finally turned to face the aliens one last time. "We tried to be peaceful. We tried to be reasonable. We offered you respect and friendship. You responded with genocide. Now you will learn what happens when you push humanity too far." The doors closed behind him with a loud bang that echoed through the chamber like thunder. In the silence that followed, some of the younger alien representatives felt a strange chill. But the older ones, the ones who had ruled the galaxy for centuries, only smiled. What could one primitive species possibly do against the might of the Galactic Empire? They were about to find out. Captain Oh Tae-hyun crouched in the shadows of asteroid mining station X-47, watching Imperial guards patrol the main corridor through his night vision scope. The space station was huge, carved deep into a massive asteroid in the Vega system. It processed rare metals for the Imperial fleet and was supposed to be one of the most secure facilities in this sector. The Empire had made one critical mistake. They never imagined that humans would abandon their ships and fight on foot like ancient warriors. "Tiger 1 to all units," Tae-hyun whispered into his helmet communicator. "Guards are following standard patrol patterns. No sign they know we're here. Tiger 2, ready," came the reply from Sergeant Kim Nari, positioned near the station's power core. "Tiger 3, ready," reported Corporal Park Dong-hyun from the communications center. "Tiger 4, ready," said Private Cho Yun-ho, who was watching. "The escape routes." Tae-hyun smiled grimly. His team of 40 soldiers had approached the station using small, stealthed shuttles. While the Empire's sensors searched space for human warships, they never thought to look for something as simple as soldiers floating through the void in armored suits. "Remember," Tae-hyun said softly, "we're not here to hold territory. Hit hard, do maximum damage, and get out. The Empire wants to play rough with civilians, so we show them what happens when you make humans angry." He checked his weapon one more time. The plasma rifle was small but deadly, designed for close combat in the tight corridors of space stations. Behind him, his soldiers waited like coiled springs, ready to unleash 3 years of pent-up rage. "All units, execute." Tae-hyun kicked down the access hatch and rolled into the corridor. The first Imperial Guard barely had time to look surprised, before Tae-hyun's plasma bolt took him down. Alarms began blaring throughout the station, but it was already too late. From her position near the power core, Sergeant Kim Nari and her squad were cutting through security doors with laser cutters. The Empire's troops were rushing toward the main intrusion point, not realizing that the humans had entered from 4 different locations at once. "Tiger 2 to Tiger 1. Nari's voice crackled through the comm. "Power core is in sight. Planting. Charges now!" Tae-hyun advanced down the corridor, his team covering him from behind. Imperial troops appeared ahead, firing energy weapons that lit up the darkness. But the humans had trained for this. They moved like shadows, using cover and darkness to their advantage. "Different game now, isn't it?" Tae-hyun muttered as he dropped 2 more Imperial soldiers with precise shots. The Empire was used to fighting ship-to-ship battles in the clean vacuum of space. They were not prepared for the brutal personal nature of close combat. At the communications center, Corporal Park Dong-yun and his team had taken control of the main transmission array. His fingers flew over alien controls as he accessed the station's database. "Tiger 1, this is Tiger 3, Dong-yun reported. "I'm downloading their communication codes and fleet movement schedules. This intel is going to be gold." "How much longer?" Tae-hyun asked, diving behind cover as more Imperial troops rounded the corner ahead. 2 more minutes for the full download." "You've got it." Tae-hyun popped up from cover and fired a burst of plasma bolts. The Imperial soldiers were wearing heavy armor, but human weapons had been designed specifically to penetrate it. 3 years of planning had gone into every piece of equipment his soldiers carried. "Tiger 4 to all units," came Private Cho Yun-ho's voice. "Imperial reinforcements approaching from Docking Bay 7. Heavy armor looks like they're elite troops." "Tiger 2. How are those charges coming?" Tae-hyun asked. "Almost done," Nari replied. 30 seconds. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the station corridors. The Empire's shock troops were coming, and Tae-hyun knew his soldiers were about to face their toughest fight yet. "All units, prepare for extraction." Tiger 4. Below the docking bay, a thunderous explosion shook the entire asteroid as Yun-ho's charges destroyed Docking Bay 7 and the Imperial reinforcements inside it. Emergency lights flickered throughout the station. "Tiger 3, download complete," Dong-yun reported. "Moving to extraction point." "Tiger 2, charges set," came Nari's voice. "Power core will blow in 5 minutes." Tae-hyun's team began their fighting retreat toward the extraction point. Behind them, the remaining Imperial troops followed, but they were confused and disorganized. They had never faced an enemy that struck so suddenly and then vanished like smoke. At the extraction point, the human soldiers waited as their stealth shuttles approached. The small craft were invisible to Imperial sensors, looking like nothing more than floating debris. "Tiger 1 to Ghost Fleet," Tae-hyun said into his long-range communicator. "Package delivered. Repeat, package delivered." Ghost Fleet to Tiger 1, came Admiral Park's reply from somewhere in deep space. Well done, Captain. Return to base. The shuttles docked with soft thuds against the asteroid's surface. Tai-Hyun's soldiers piled in quickly, their mission complete. As the shuttles pulled away, the power core charges detonated. The explosion lit up the Vega system like a new star. Asteroid mining station X-47, which had operated for over 50 years, disappeared in a ball of plasma and debris. With it went tons of rare metals, months of refined materials, and the Empire's sense of invincibility. 3 hours later, Captain Yang Hyejin's fleet struck the Imperial shipyards at Alpha Centauri. Using their stealth technology, human warships appeared inside the shipyard's defensive perimeter like ghosts materializing from the void. The shipyard's automated defenses couldn't target what they couldn't see. The attack lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, 6 half-completed Imperial dreadnoughts and the facilities that built them were nothing but twisted metal floating in space. 2 hours after that, Captain Ro Min-soo's squadron hit 3 communication relay stations in the Orion arm. The Empire's ability to coordinate fleet movements across that entire sector went dark. In his command center on Nexus Prime, Chancellor Vex Morlane stared at reports flooding in from across the Empire. 12 facilities had been attacked in the past 6 hours. All of them were deep inside Imperial space, far from any known human fleet positions. How is this possible? Morlane demanded of his military advisors. Our sensors show no human ships in any of these sectors. General Crix Valdron, the Empire's supreme military commander, looked grim. His reptilian features were darker than usual, a sign of stress in his species. Chancellor, we are dealing with some kind of new human technology. Our ships cannot detect them. Our sensors cannot track them. They appear from nowhere, strike with precision, and vanish without a trace. Find a way to detect them, Morlane snarled. These primitives are making fools of us. We are trying, Chancellor. But in the meantime, we should consider withdrawing our fleets to more defensible positions. Morlane's 4 arms gestured angrily. Withdraw? From primitives who can barely leave their own solar system? Never! Double the patrols. Triple the guards on all Imperial facilities. These humans want a war? We'll give them a war they'll never forget. But even as he spoke, more reports were coming in. A supply convoy attacked near Tau Ceti. A fuel depot destroyed in the Sirius system. A training facility on the rim worlds reduced to rubble. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. They struck like lightning and vanished like shadows. And with each attack, the message became clearer. Humanity had kept its promise. The Empire was beginning to burn. In the depths of space, invisible human fleets moved toward their next targets. The countdown timer showed 54 hours remaining. But for the Galactic Empire, time was already running out. The ghosts were coming. Chancellor Vex Morlane stood before a massive holographic display in the Empire's war room on Nexus Prime. Red dots marked 23 Imperial facilities that had been destroyed in the past 18 hours. Yellow dots showed another 40 installations that had gone silent or reported suspicious activity nearby. This is impossible, Morlane said for the 100th time. 47 human ships cannot be in this many places at once. General Crix Valdron manipulated the holographic display, zooming in on different sectors. Chancellor, our intelligence suggests the humans have developed some form of advanced stealth technology, ships that our sensors cannot detect. Then, develop sensors that can detect them, Morlane snapped. We are working on it, But in the meantime, we need to respond with force. The other species in the Empire are watching. If we appear weak..." Morlane's 4 arms clenched into fists. The Empire ruled through fear and overwhelming power. If other species began to think humanity could successfully rebel, it would spark uprisings across the galaxy. "Very well," Morlane said. "Begin Operation Iron Fist. Destroy 10 human colonies immediately. Make it clear that for every Imperial facility they attack, we will kill 1 billion humans." General Valdrin hesitated. "Chancellor, that would mean killing civilians, non-combatants." "They became combatants the moment their fleets began attacking us," Morlane replied coldly. "Send Admiral Zex Thorn with the 3rd Fleet. Tell him to make examples of those worlds." 3 hours later, Admiral Zex Thorn's fleet of 200 Imperial warships dropped out of hyperspace around the human colony of New Jeju. The peaceful agricultural world had no defenses except a small orbital station and a few patrol boats. "Admiral," said his communications officer, "the humans are requesting permission to evacuate their civilians." Thorn, a massive alien with thick armor plating and 6 eyes, laughed. "Permission denied. Begin orbital bombardment. I want this world turned to glass in 30 minutes. The Imperial fleet opened fire. Energy beams lanced down from space, turning cities into crater fields and forests into ash. 200 million humans died in the first 5 minutes. But they did not die quietly." "Sir," Thorn's sensor operator called out urgently, "I'm detecting massive energy readings from the planet's surface. The humans appear to be launching something." "Escape pods?" Thorn asked dismissively. "No, sir. These readings are much larger, and they're accelerating fast." On the main screen, points of light began rising from the dying planet. Not escape pods, but missiles. Thousands of them shooting up from hidden silos across the planet's surface. "Point defense," Thorn ordered. "Shoot them down." The Imperial fleet's defensive systems activated, filling space with energy beams and projectile fire. They destroyed hundreds of the missiles, but thousands more kept coming. And these were not ordinary missiles. The first one that got through struck the Imperial dreadnought Dominion. Instead of exploding on impact, it burrowed through the ship's armor and detonated inside the hull. The massive warship broke apart in a chain of secondary explosions. "What was that?" Thorn demanded. "Some kind of penetrator warhead," his tactical officer replied, fear creeping into his voice. "It's designed to punch through our heaviest armor." More missiles struck home. The cruiser Imperial Glory lost its engine section. The battleship's supremacy was gutted by 3 missiles that hit within seconds of each other. Throughout the fleet, ships were taking damage from weapons they had never seen before. "How is this possible?" Thorn shouted. "This is supposed to be a farming colony." His communications officer looked up with wide eyes. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface." Put it on screen. The image that appeared showed a human woman standing in what looked like a command bunker. Explosions flashed in the background, but she stood calmly as if nothing was happening. Her name appeared on the screen. Colonel Shin Mi-young, Planetary Defense Commander. "Admiral Thorn," she said, her voice steady despite the destruction raging around her. "I am Colonel Shin Mi-young. You came here to murder civilians. Instead, you found soldiers." "You're all going to die anyway," Thorn snarled. "Surrender now, and I might let some of your people live." Colonel Shin smiled. It was a cold, hard smile. "Admiral, you made the same mistake your empire always makes. You assumed we were helpless. You were wrong." Behind her, more missiles launched into space. The Imperial fleet was still trying to destroy them all, but for every missile they shot down, 3 more got through. Every human colony has been preparing for this day since you destroyed our first 3 worlds, Shin continued. We knew you would come for our civilians. We were ready. The missile barrage intensified. Thorn watched in horror as ship after ship in his fleet took damage. These were not desperate farmers fighting with improvised weapons. This was a coordinated defense by trained soldiers using advanced military hardware. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we've lost 18 ships. The missile launch sites are heavily fortified. Our bombardment isn't stopping them. Then land troops, Thorn ordered. Take those launch sites by force. Sir, we're detecting massive energy readings from the planet's surface. It looks like they're preparing something big. On the screen, Colonel Shin checked a device on her wrist. Admiral, you have 10 seconds to order your fleet to withdraw from this system. If you don't, you'll learn what happens when you threaten human children. You're bluffing, Thorn said. Humans don't bluff, Shin replied. Goodbye, Admiral. The transmission cut off. 3 seconds later, the planet's surface erupted in a column of light that reached into space. Not an explosion, but a directed energy beam that swept across the Imperial fleet like a sword. Every ship it touched simply vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, but completely vaporized as if they had never existed. In 15 seconds, Admiral Thorn's fleet of 200 ships was reduced to 37 survivors fleeing in panic. Thorn himself barely escaped in a damaged cruiser. His dreams of easy victory turned into a nightmare of devastating defeat. On Nexus Prime, Chancellor Morlin received the reports with growing fury. His punishment fleet had been destroyed by farmers. His mighty warships had been defeated by a colony world with no military forces. How? He demanded. How did they do this? General Valdrin looked grim. It appears the humans have been planning for war much longer than we realized. Every colony, every outpost, every settlement has been turned into a fortress, and their weapons technology is far more advanced than our intelligence suggested. Then we use more ships, Morlane said. Send 1,000 vessels. Send 10,000 if necessary. Chancellor, we may need to consider that the humans were telling the truth. They have prepared for this war in ways we never imagined. Perhaps it would be wise to negotiate. Morlane's 4 arms slammed down on the table. Never! The Empire does not negotiate with primitives. We rule this galaxy, not them. But even as he spoke, more reports were arriving. Human strikes on Imperial facilities were increasing in intensity. Supply lines were being cut. Communication networks were going dark, and now their colonies were proving to be as dangerous as their fleets. The countdown timer showed 36 hours remaining. But for the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Empire was beginning to understand what it meant to be afraid. The humans had fired the first shot in this war, but they had also prepared for the Empire to fire back, and they were ready for whatever came next. Deep in the Kepler Nebula, Admiral Park Jinwoo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching as his fleet prepared for the largest human military operation in history. Around him, invisible ships moved like deadly shadows through the colorful gases of the nebula. Admiral, reported Commander Lee Minho, all squadrons are in position. Captain Yoon reports the stealth field is holding steady. The Empire still has no idea we're here. Jinwoo nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. 30 light-years away, the Empire's second fleet was massing near the Arcturus system. 3,000 Imperial warships, including their newest. Super dreadnoughts preparing to invade human space in overwhelming force. They're bringing everything they have, said Lieutenant Kim Salmon from the communications station. Intelligence reports show they've pulled ships from across the Empire. This is their attempt to end the war in one massive blow. Good, Jinwoo said quietly. Let them come. The more ships they bring, the more we can destroy at once. Commander Lee looked concerned. Sir, even with our stealth advantage, those are terrible odds. 3,000 Imperial ships against our 47. Numbers aren't everything, Commander. Ask Admiral Thorne about that. The news of Thorne's defeat at New Jeju had spread through both fleets like wildfire. The Empire's punishment expedition had been crushed by a single colony world. It was a victory that proved humanity's strength, but Jinwoo knew the Empire would not make the same mistake twice. Sir, said So-min, we're receiving a transmission from Captain Kim Da-yoon's infiltration team. They're in position aboard the Imperial flagship. The main screen flickered to show the interior of an Imperial ship. Captain Kim Da-yoon and her team of commandos were crouched in what looked like a maintenance corridor, their advanced armor making them nearly invisible even on the ship's own cameras. Admiral, Da-yoon whispered, we've accessed their main computer, core. The virus is ready to upload. And their fleet coordination systems? All identified and marked for sabotage. When you give the word, their ability to communicate with each other goes dark. Jinwoo smiled grimly. While the Empire prepared for a traditional fleet battle, humanity was fighting a different kind of war. A war of information, sabotage, and technology they couldn't understand. Stand by, Captain. Begin your mission in exactly 1 hour. The countdown timer showed 24 hours remaining. In 1 day, the Empire's ultimatum would expire. But Jinwoo had no intention of waiting that long. All fleet commanders, he said, into his communicator. This is Ghost Leader. Operation Sledgehammer begins in 60 minutes. Remember, we hit them hard and fast, then vanish before they can respond. We're not trying to win a stand-up fight. We're trying to break their will. To fight. Across the nebula, invisible human ships began to move. They had spent weeks positioning themselves around the Empire's massed fleets, using their stealth technology to get closer than any enemy had ever managed. Aboard the Imperial flagship Eternal, Dominion Admiral Nex Corvain studied tactical displays showing the approaching human territories. His fleet was the largest assembled in 500 years. No force in the galaxy could stand against it. Admiral, reported his sensor officer, long-range scans show no human activity in our target zone. It appears their fleets are still hiding, behind their colony worlds. Cowards, Corvain said with satisfaction. They know they cannot face us in open battle. When we arrive, they will surrender or be destroyed. What Corvain didn't know was that Captain Kim Da-yoon was 3 decks below, him placing explosive charges on the ship's main power conduits, or that similar teams were aboard dozens of his ships, preparing to cause chaos at exactly the right moment. In the Empire's war room on Nexus Prime, Chancellor Morlane watched the fleet movements with growing confidence. Reports were still coming in about human raids across the Empire. But soon those wouldn't matter. His second fleet would smash the human colonies and end this rebellion once and for all. General Valdrin, he said, how long until Admiral Corvain reaches human space? 6 hours, Chancellor. The humans have pulled back to their core worlds. They're preparing for a siege. Let them prepare. No fortress can stand against 3,000 warships. But General Valdrin looked troubled. Chancellor, I'm concerned about these continued raids. In the past 6 hours, the humans have struck 12 more facilities. Our supply lines are being systematically destroyed. Irrelevant. Morlane waved his concerns away. Once their colonies, are destroyed, the raiders will have nowhere to refuel or resupply. They'll be hunted down and eliminated. What neither Morlane nor his general knew was that the human raids were not random attacks. They were part of a carefully planned strategy to cripple the Empire's ability to coordinate its forces. Back in the Kepler Nebula, the countdown reached 0. All units, Admiral Jinwoo said calmly, execute sledgehammer. Space around the Imperial. Second Fleet suddenly filled with death. Human ships materialized from nowhere, their weapons already firing. The first salvo caught the Imperial ships completely off guard. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, alarms began screaming as explosions rocked the ship. Captain Da-Hyun's charges had detonated simultaneously across the fleet, crippling command and control systems just as the human attack began. "Where are they coming from?" Admiral Corvain shouted, trying to make sense of his tactical displays. Ships were appearing and disappearing all around his fleet like deadly phantoms. "Sir, our communications are down," his operations officer reported. "We can't coordinate with the other ships, and our sensors can't lock onto the human vessels," added the weapons officer. "They keep vanishing before we can target them." The human attack was unlike anything the Empire had ever faced. Instead of forming battle lines and exchanging broadsides, the human ships struck like a swarm of angry wasps. They appeared, fired devastating salvos, and vanished before the Imperial ships could respond. Commander Lee watched the battle unfold from the Indomitable's bridge. "Admiral, we're causing massive damage. The Imperial fleet is in complete disarray." "Casualties?" Jinwoo asked. "Light on our side. The stealth technology is working perfectly. They can't hit what they can't see." But Jinwoo knew this was just the beginning. The Empire had other fleets, other worlds, other weapons. This victory would hurt them, but it wouldn't end the war. "Signal all units," he ordered. "Phase 2 of Sledgehammer. Target their shipyards and supply bases. We need to make sure they can't replace what we're destroying." Across Imperial space, human fleets struck at targets they had been watching and planning to attack for months. Shipyards that had built vessels for centuries were reduced to scrap metal. Supply depots that had fed the Imperial war machine for millennia went up in flames. The Empire's military infrastructure, built over thousands of years, began to crumble in a matter of hours. On Nexus Prime, Chancellor Morlane watched his empire burn and finally began to understand what the humans had tried to tell him. This was not a rebellion that could be crushed with overwhelming force. This was a war that would continue until one side was completely destroyed. And for the first time in his long life, Morlane began to wonder if the Empire might be on the losing side. The Imperial throne room on Nexus Prime had never been so quiet. Chancellor Vex Morlane sat on his massive chair, staring at holographic reports that painted a picture of complete disaster. In 72 hours, the human uprising had destroyed over 300 Imperial facilities, crippled 2 major fleets, and brought the Empire's war machine to its knees. General Crix Valdrin entered the throne room, his reptilian features showing exhaustion and defeat. Behind him walked Admiral Zara Nexus, one of the few Imperial commanders to survive the human attacks with her fleet mostly intact. "Chancellor," Valdrin said, his voice heavy with bad news, "I must report that the Second Fleet has been completely destroyed. Admiral Corvain is missing and presumed dead. Of 3,000 ships, fewer than 200 escaped." Morlane's forearms gripped the throne so tightly that the metal began to bend. "How? How did primitives with 47 ships destroy our greatest fleet?" Admiral Nexus stepped forward. She was a tall, elegant alien with silver skin and large, dark eyes. Her species had served the Empire faithfully for over 1,000 years, but now she looked troubled. Chancellor, with respect, I believe our intelligence about human capabilities was completely wrong. Their stealth technology is beyond anything we've seen. Their weapons are more advanced than ours. And their tactics. She paused, searching for words. They fight like nothing we've ever encountered. Explain, Morlane demanded. They don't fight for territory or resources like other species. They fight for revenge. Every human ship, every human soldier, every human colony is willing to die to hurt us. They have turned their entire civilization into a weapon pointed at our empire. General Valdrin nodded grimly. Our losses are catastrophic. 17 shipyards destroyed. 43 supply depots eliminated. Our communication network across 6 sectors has been completely severed. At this rate, we'll lose the ability to coordinate our remaining fleets within days. Then bring all fleets back to the core worlds, Morlane ordered. Concentrate our forces and defend what matters most. Chancellor, Admiral Nexus said carefully, the humans have proven they can appear anywhere without warning. Concentrating our fleets just gives them bigger targets to attack, and if we pull ships back from the frontier, the other species will see it as a sign of weakness. As if summoned by her words, the throne room's communication system activated. The image of Governor Tal Mersic appeared, representing the Centauri Federation, one of the Empire's vassal states. Chancellor Morlane, Mersic said, his voice formal but cold. The Centauri Federation has voted to withdraw from all Imperial defense agreements. We will no longer provide ships or resources for your war against humanity. Morlane rose from his throne, his 4 arms spreading wide in anger. You dare break faith with the Empire? The Empire promised us protection and prosperity, Mersic replied. Instead, you have brought war to our doorstep. Human fleets have destroyed Imperial bases in our territory. We cannot risk our worlds for your pride. The transmission ended abruptly. Before Morlane could respond, another communication came in. Then another. Within minutes, representatives from 12 different species had announced their withdrawal from Imperial service. The Empire is falling apart, General Valdrin said quietly. Species that have served us for centuries are abandoning us. Our own citizens are beginning to question whether we can protect them. Admiral Nexus pulled up a strategic display showing the entire galaxy. Red zones marked areas where Imperial control had been lost or was under threat. The red was spreading, like a disease across the map. Chancellor, we need to consider that the humans meant what they said. They will not stop until our empire is dust. Perhaps it's time to negotiate. Never! Morlane roared, his voice echoing through the vast throne room. The Empire does not bow to primitives. Then what do you propose? Valdrin asked. Our fleets are being destroyed faster than we can replace them. Our allies are abandoning us. Our supply lines are cut. What weapon do we have left? Morlane was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was cold and terrible. We have the Omega Protocol! Both Valdrin and Nexus stepped back in shock. The Omega Protocol was the Empire's most closely guarded secret. A weapon so terrible that it had never been used in 3,000 years of conquest. Chancellor, Valdrin said, his voice shaking. The Omega Protocol would destroy entire star systems. Billions of innocents would die. The humans wanted war, Morlane replied. Now they'll learn what war truly means. Prepare the Devastator. Light years away, in the wreckage of what had once been the Imperial shipyard at Vega Station, Captain Yang Yejin searched through the debris for intelligence data. Her stealth ship, the Shadow, drifted silently among the twisted metal and frozen bodies. "Captain," reported her sensor officer, "I'm detecting a coded transmission from deep in Imperial space. It's heavily encrypted, but the signal strength suggests something major is happening. Can you crack it?" "Not completely, but I'm getting fragments. Something about a protocol activation and coordinates for the Omega sector." He-Jin felt a chill run down her spine. The Omega sector was one of the most heavily guarded regions of Imperial space. If the Empire was activating something there, it could only mean they were preparing to use their most dangerous weapons. "Signal Admiral Park immediately," she ordered. "Priority Alpha transmission. Tell him the Empire may be preparing something big." Aboard the Indomitable, Admiral Jinwoo received the warning with growing concern. He had studied Imperial military doctrine for years, and he knew they had contingency plans for desperate situations. "Commander Lee," he said, "pull up everything we have on Imperial superweapons." The tactical display filled with classified documents. Captured from Imperial facilities, most showed conventional weapons, but one file made Jinwoo's blood run cold. "The Devastator," he read aloud. "A mobile weapons platform capable of destroying entire star systems. Last known location, Omega Sector." Lieutenant Soman looked up from her station with wide eyes. "Sir, if such a weapon exists, then the Empire is preparing to commit genocide on a scale never seen before," Jinwoo finished. "They can't defeat our fleets, so they're going to try to destroy our entire species." The countdown timer on the main screen showed 6 hours remaining until the original ultimatum expired. But now it wasn't just about the Empire's surrender. It was about preventing the complete annihilation of humanity. "Signal all fleets," Jinwoo ordered. "Emergency redeployment. We're going to the Omega sector." "Sir," Commander Lee said, "that's the most heavily defended region in Imperial space. Even with our stealth technology." "Then we'd better hope our technology is good enough," Jinwoo replied grimly. "Because if we fail, there won't be a humanity left to remember us." In the depths of the Omega sector, ancient machinery began to awaken. The Devastator, a weapon built by the Empire's founders and kept in reserve for the ultimate emergency, started its activation sequence. The final phase of the war was about to begin, and only one species would survive to see its end. The Devastator was a nightmare made of metal and energy, floating in the hidden depths of the Omega sector like a sleeping god of destruction. The massive weapon was the size of a small moon, its surface covered with energy projectors capable of tearing apart the fabric of space itself. Admiral Park Jinwoo studied the monster through his ship's enhanced sensors, watching as Imperial technicians swarmed over its surface like insects preparing their hive for war. Around the weapon, 500 Imperial warships formed a protective barrier that would have been impossible for any normal fleet to penetrate, but the human fleet was far from normal. "Commander Lee," Jinwoo said quietly, "how long until the weapon is fully activated?" "Based on the energy readings, approximately 4 hours," Lee replied. "Once it's online, it can destroy an entire star system every 6 hours. At that rate, they could wipe out all human colonies within a week," Lieutenant Soman finished, her voice tight with fear. Jinwoo nodded grimly. The Empire had finally played their ultimate card. If the Devastator became operational, it wouldn't matter how many Imperial ships humanity destroyed. The Empire would simply burn every human world until nothing remained but dead rocks orbiting empty stars. "Sir," reported Captain Yoon from the stealth system station, "I'm detecting massive sensor sweeps from the Imperial fleet. They're using some kind of new detection technology. Are we still invisible? For now, but the sweeps are getting more intense. They know we're coming. Of course they did, Jinwoo thought. The Empire's leaders weren't fools. They knew humanity would try to stop the Devastator, and they had prepared accordingly. Signal all fleet commanders, Jinwoo ordered. Final briefing in 10 minutes. This is our last chance to end this war before they end us. 10 minutes later, the holographic images of humanity's surviving ship captains filled the Indomitable's briefing room. Captain Yang Hyejin looked tired but determined. Captain Oh Tae-hyun's face showed the strain of constant combat. Captain Kim Da-yoon's commando team had taken heavy losses in their sabotage missions, but she remained ready for battle. Ladies and gentlemen, Jinwoo began, in 4 hours the Empire will possess the ability to destroy our entire species. We cannot run from this weapon. We cannot hide from it. We can only destroy it. He activated a tactical display showing the Devastator and its defensive fleet. 500 Imperial ships guard the weapon. Under normal circumstances, those would be impossible odds. But we're not fighting under normal circumstances. Captain Hyejin leaned forward. Admiral, even with our stealth technology, a direct assault on that position would be suicide. They'll detect us the moment we open fire. You're right, Jinwoo agreed. Which is why we're not going to assault the position. We're going to make them come to us. The display changed to show the Omega Sector's star, a massive red giant that provided the Devastator with its power source. Captain Kim, Jinwoo, said, "Your commandos are going to infiltrate the Devastator itself, not to destroy it, but to make the Empire think we're trying to destroy it." Da-hyun raised an eyebrow. A diversion? Exactly. While you're keeping their attention focused on the weapon, the rest of our fleet will be preparing a little surprise. Captain Oh crossed his arms. What kind of surprise, Admiral? Jinwoo smiled, but it was a cold, hard expression. We're going to turn their own star against them. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Lieutenant Kim So-min was the first to speak. Sir, are you talking about forcing a stellar collapse? The energy release would be enough to destroy everything in this system, including the Devastator, Jinwoo confirmed. It will also destroy us unless we can get far enough away in time. Captain Tae-hyun shook his head. Admiral, the technology required to destabilize a star, we don't have anything like that. Actually, we do. Jinwoo pulled up another display showing technical specifications. Dr. Yoon Ji-ho's final project, before the Empire destroyed his lab. Quantum resonance bombs capable of disrupting stellar fusion. He managed to complete 3 prototypes before he died. The captain studied the technical data with growing amazement and horror. The weapons were incredibly complex, requiring precise placement and timing to work correctly. The bombs have to be detonated in a specific sequence at 3 points around the star's core, Jinwoo explained. The resonance cascade will cause the star to collapse and then explode in a hypernova. Everything within 10 light years will be vaporized. Including us, Captain Hyejin pointed out. Unless we can reach minimum safe distance within 47 minutes of detonation, Jinwoo agreed. It will be close. Captain Da-yoon leaned back in her chair. So let me understand this. My team infiltrates the most heavily defended weapon in the galaxy to create a distraction while you plant bombs that will destroy the star and kill everyone in the system, including us, unless we can outrun the explosion in our damaged ships. That's about right, Jinwoo said. Da-hyun grinned. I like it. When do we start? 2 hours later, Captain Kim Da-hyun and her team of commandos approached the Devastator in a captured Imperial shuttle. The massive weapon loomed ahead of them like a mechanical planet, its surface bristling with defensive systems and sensor arrays. "Remember," Da-Yun told her team, "we don't need to actually damage anything. We just need to make enough noise to keep their attention while the Admiral does his work." Behind them, invisible human ships were positioning themselves around the red giant star. Each ship carried one of Dr. Yoon's quantum resonance bombs, weapons that had cost the brilliant scientist his life to create. Aboard the Indomitable, Admiral Jinwoo watched the countdown timer. 2 hours until the Devastator became operational. 47 minutes from bomb detonation to hypernova. It was going to be the closest timing in human military history. "All ships report ready," Commander Lee announced. "Bombs are in position. Captain Da-Yun's team has penetrated the Devastator's outer defenses," Lieutenant Soman added. "Imperial forces are responding to the intrusion." On the main screen, explosions began lighting up the Devastator's surface as Da-Yun's commandos fought their way deeper into the weapon. Imperial troops swarmed to defend their ultimate weapon exactly as planned. "Sir," Yoon reported from the stealth station, "Imperial sensor sweeps are focusing on the Devastator. They're not scanning the star." "Perfect." Jinwoo took a deep breath. Everything depended on the next few minutes. "All ships," he said into his communicator, "initiate stellar destabilization sequence. May God help us all." Deep within the red giant's core, 3 quantum resonance bombs detonated simultaneously. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the star began to shudder as its fusion processes became unstable. "Stellar collapse initiated," Lee reported, his voice tense. "We have 47 minutes to minimum safe distance." "All ships, emergency." "Acceleration," Jinwoo ordered. "Captain Da-Yun, extraction in 30 minutes whether you're ready or not." In the depths of the Devastator, Da-Yun and her team fought a running battle through corridors filled with Imperial troops. But something was wrong. The aliens weren't trying to capture them. They were trying to drive them toward the center of the weapon. "Captain," one of her soldiers called out, "I think this is a trap." Da-Yun was beginning to think the same thing. But they had a job to do, and they would do it until the Admiral gave the extraction signal. Behind them, the star continued to collapse, and the countdown to humanity's ultimate gamble continued its relentless march toward zero. The red giant star was dying. Deep in its core, quantum forces that had burned for billions of years were tearing themselves apart. The stellar collapse accelerated as fusion chains broke down and gravity began to win its eternal war against nuclear fire. Admiral Park Jinwoo watched the countdown timer on his screen. 38 minutes until hypernova. Around him, the human fleet raced away from the dying star at maximum speed. Their engines pushed beyond safe limits in a desperate attempt to reach minimum safe distance. "Status report," Jinwoo called out. "All ships are maintaining emergency acceleration," Commander Lee replied. "But the Defiant has engine problems. They're falling behind. Tell Captain Rowe to transfer his crew to other ships and abandon vessel if necessary. We can't slow down for anyone." The words tasted like ash in his mouth, but they were true. Synced. 38 minutes. Everything within 10 light-years of the Omega sector would be vaporized. There would be no second chances, no rescue missions, no heroic sacrifices to save stragglers. "Sir," Lieutenant Soman called from communications, "Captain Da-Yun's team is requesting immediate extraction. They say they've completed their mission." "Negative," Jinwoo replied. "We need 5 more minutes to reach safe distance. Tell them to hold position." Inside the Devastator, Captain Kim Da-Yun and her surviving commandos were trapped in the weapon's central control chamber. Half her team was dead, and Imperial troops surrounded them on all sides. But they had accomplished their goal. The Empire's attention was completely focused on defending their ultimate weapon. "Captain," Sergeant Park called out over the sound of energy weapons fire. "The star readings are going crazy. What's happening out there?" Da-Hyun checked her scanner and felt her blood turn cold. The stellar collapse was accelerating faster than predicted. According to her readings, they had maybe 30 minutes before the hypernova, not 47. "Admiral," she said into her communicator, "the star is collapsing faster than expected. You need to go now." Jinwoo's voice crackled back through static. 5 more minutes, Captain! Hold your position!" "Sir, there isn't 5 more minutes. The blast wave will reach you in 30 minutes, maybe less." A long pause. Then, "Understood. All ships, abandon extraction protocol. Captain Da-Hyun, it's been an honor serving with you." Da-Hyun smiled grimly as she reloaded her weapon. "The honor was mine, Admiral. Give them hell." The communication cut off. Around her, Imperial troops were preparing for a final assault, but Da-Hyun had one last card to play. "Sergeant Park," she called out, "remember those nuclear charges we brought for backup?" "Yes, Captain. Set them all to detonate in 10 minutes. If we're going to die here, let's take this weapon with us." Meanwhile, in the Imperial fleet surrounding the Devastator, Admiral Corvain's replacement, Admiral Vex Thorn, was beginning to realize something was wrong. His sensors were detecting massive stellar instabilities, but his science officers insisted it was impossible. "Admiral," his chief scientist reported, "the star's fusion core is collapsing. This shouldn't be possible without external interference." "Could the humans have done this?" "Sir, the technology required would be beyond anything we know they possess. But the readings don't lie. We have perhaps 25 minutes before stellar collapse reaches critical mass." Thorne felt a chill of understanding. The human attack on the Devastator had been a diversion. While his forces had been focused on protecting the weapon, the humans had been preparing to destroy the entire system. "All ships, emergency retreat," he ordered. "Maximum acceleration away from the star." But it was too late. The Imperial fleet had been positioned close to the Devastator to provide maximum protection. Now that same positioning trapped them in the blast zone. Most of the Imperial ships would never reach safe distance in time. Aboard the Indomitable, Jinwoo watched his fleet race toward survival. They were going to make it, barely. The stellar collapse would destroy the Devastator, the Imperial fleet, and the Empire's ability to commit genocide against humanity. "Sir," Commander Lee reported, "we're receiving a transmission from Nexus Prime. It's Chancellor Morlane." "Put him on screen." The image that appeared showed the Imperial leader in his throne room, but now he looked old and defeated. His forearms hung limply at his sides, and his eyes held the hollow look of someone who had lost everything. "Admiral Park," Morlane said, his voice barely above a whisper. "You have won. The Devastator is lost. Our fleets are destroyed. The Empire surrenders unconditionally." "Too late," Jinwoo replied coldly. "You had your chance for surrender 72 hours ago. You chose war instead." "Please," Morlane begged, "we will withdraw from all human territories. We will pay any reparations you demand. We will acknowledge human sovereignty over whatever systems you claim. Just call off your attack." Jinwoo looked at the countdown timer. 18 minutes until hypernova. Even if he wanted to, there was no way to stop what was coming. "Chancellor, you destroyed 3 billion innocent humans because you wanted some platinum ore." You tried to commit genocide against our entire species because we dared to resist your tyranny. You made this choice. Now live with the consequences." He cut the transmission and turned back to his crew. "All ships prepare for stellar detonation shockwave. This is going to be rough." 16 minutes later, the red giant star reached critical collapse. For one perfect moment, it seemed to pause, balanced on the edge between death and rebirth. Then fusion restarted in a chain reaction that released more energy than 1,000,000,000 hydrogen bombs. The hypernova lit up half the galaxy. The Devastator, the Empire's ultimate weapon, vaporized in the first microsecond. The Imperial fleet defending it lasted barely longer. The shockwave raced outward at a significant fraction of light speed, carrying destruction to everything in its path. The human fleet, racing at the very edge of the blast zone, felt their ships shake as radiation and debris caught up with them. 2 destroyers were lost when their engines failed. The cruiser Justice suffered severe damage but managed to maintain speed, but they survived. Against impossible odds, in the face of the Empire's ultimate weapon, humanity had not only survived, but won. The war was over. In the weeks that followed, the shock waves from the Omega Sector's destruction rippled across the galaxy in more ways than one. Species that had served the Empire for millennia declared their independence. Imperial worlds surrendered to human forces without firing a shot. The 1,000-year-old order that had ruled the galaxy crumbled like dust. Captain Kang Do-hyun stood once again in the High Council chamber on Nexus Prime, but now the roles were reversed. Imperial representatives sat in the audience while human delegates occupied the leadership positions. "The Terran Coalition accepts the Empire's unconditional surrender," Do-hyun announced. "All Imperial military forces will stand down immediately. All occupied territories will be returned to their original inhabitants. War crimes tribunals will be established to judge those responsible for atrocities against civilian populations." Chancellor Morlane, stripped of his titles and authority, sat in the audience like any other defeated enemy. His empire was gone, his fleets destroyed, his authority ended. "The age of imperial domination is over," Do-hyun continued. "A new order begins today, based on equality and justice rather than conquest and oppression." Admiral Park Jin-woo watched the proceedings from Earth, where he was recovering from the radiation exposure suffered during the escape from Omega Sector. The doctors said he would live, though he might never be fit for active duty again. It didn't matter. The war was won. Humanity had kept its promise. The Galactic Empire was dust. In the ruins of the Omega Sector, where once a star had burned, only empty space remained. A monument to the price of tyranny and the cost of pushing humanity too far. And in the silence between the stars, a new age began.